Hi, we just finished meeting for pronunciation practice on April 1st, 2025, April Fool's Day. So we started with a request for ruined, and this is one of those words that has a intrusive W, or I call it an invisible W, or sometimes a hidden W. When your lips go from a rounded sound like oo to an unrounded sound like ruined, then a W should appear naturally. Ruined. And it doesn't have to be perfectly like two syllables, ruined, but I wrote it that way to remember that you're making a change. Ruined, ruined. So if it was by itself, you wouldn't hear the D. If it's at the end of the sentence or before a consonant, it would just sound like an N. My plans were ruined. Duh. I wouldn't say the duh. Ruined. But you will hear the D if there's a vowel after it. So my plans were ruined on Sunday. Ruined on. Ruined on. But by itself, my plans were ruined. My plans were ruined on Sunday. Let me know if that helps. And April Fool's Day. Today is April Fool's Day. Today is April. This will connect. I didn't mark that, but today is, you kind of have a Y, and then is April. Today is April Fool's Day. It's good to practice April now that it's April. April. It can be prol or prill, doesn't matter. April. Jeopardy. I always think this is the weirdest looking word compared to how it sounds. Jeopardy. I like the show Jeopardy. For the J, make sure you're pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth completely and then building up pressure behind it and getting your voice activated. So you get ready to make voicing even before you release the air. So that sounds like J, J, so that the voicing and the air releases at the same time. J, J, Jeopardy. I like the show Jeopardy. Ornamentation. Ornamentation. This I highlighted, made this bold because when you see the suffix shun, any variation, SION, TION, SCION, the syllable before is almost always stressed, the primary stress. So this is a good example of that. A bright ribbon was used for ornamentation, or it's going to be secondary stress, so it'll be a little longer. Ornamentation. Naturalism. This has an invisible ch because the TU next to each other can often make a ch. Natural. So now the R comes right after it. Natural. And whenever you have the suffix ISM, it's really two syllables because there's an invisible I. You have to have some kind of space between making the Z and making the M. Because if we didn't, it would sound like isn't. So ism. You have to have a little space to move your tongue in there. Naturalism. The naturalism of is acting. The naturalism of is acting. And this is a word I'd only heard the noun homily, but not the adjective. And this is another example of when it ends with an IC, the syllable before is almost always stressed. So, and this one's following that rule. Homiletic. Homiletic. When composing the homiletic text, this looks like a lot of letters, and it is, and a lot of vowels, and a lot of syllables, but they're not difficult combinations. Ecclesiastical, ecclesiastical. When composing, set it apart from traditional ecclesiastical designs. Set it apart. These T's change to D's. Set it apart from traditional ecclesiastical designs. I have to slow down to say that, so you might too. Condemnation, another shun, the syllable before is stressed. Condemnation. The plan has drawn condemnation from both sides. In I have to change the stress. Interregnum. Dun 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 dun. Interregnum. A short-lived interregnum. It's the space between dictators or kings. These are on separate lines, but they sound exactly the same. Wedding. And this, the T's changed to D, wedding. Medal. The T changes to a D, medal. These I put as extra examples, but on the same line, but they sound exactly the same. Pedal. So there is an expression, put the pedal to the metal, which means step on the gas pedal all the way down and make it go. And that pedal with the vowel e, where your jaw is higher, pe, is different than pa, paddle, where you have the a, jaw very low, tongue very low, lips back, paddle. So 16, pedal, pedal, 17, paddle, like ping pong paddle. Oath. This is just the O sound with the TH. So oath, as you're still making your oath, you can push your tongue out, keep pushing air. Oath. Keep your tongue loose so that air can go over it. Oath. And I put something else here that has that begins with a voiceless th, so that if you need more practice keeping that position longer, this is practice for that. He took an oath thought. I won't have to stop my th and say he took an oath thought. He took an oath thought to be honest. He took an oath thought. Sometimes it's easier to pronounce sounds when they're at the beginning of the word because you have time to think about putting your everything in the right position. So if you have no trouble with thank, think, thought, that's great. So to practice a word that ends with that sound, put another word that begins with that sound right after it. So you'll hold that position. Oath thought. Oath thought. All right. Oat. If you don't have airflow, oath will sound like oat with a T. Even if you don't hear the T, oat, like oatmeal. So this can totally change the meaning of this word. And we didn't have time for these, but we skipped to treasurer because it's a weird combination. Treasure. When you pull your tongue back for the and I know it looks like a U, like treasure, but it's not. It's like her. Treasure. Hold it there and make the sound again. Treasurer. 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 And I didn't have a sentence. She was elected treasurer. She was, and this could be elected or elected treasurer. All right, I'll go through them without chit chat. Ruin, April Fool's Day, jeopardy, ornamentation, naturalism, homiletic, ecclesiastical, condemnation, interregnum, wedding, wedding, medal, medal, pedal, pedal, paddle, oath, oat, treasurer. All right. Thank you. It was good to see everyone, and happy spring, happy April Fool's Day, and new beginning of new month, new hope. Let's hope. Thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow for intonation practice.